Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Lifestyle Lifter Show. Today I'm delighted to be joined by fellow coach, personal trainer, and he is the host of the Daily Fitness podcast, Mr. Evan Daly. Welcome to the Lifestyle Lifter Show, my
Adrian, how are we keeping? Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
man. Fellow Galwegian, good to see you. I know we connected a few weeks ago over at IFS, which you were a guest speaker at. We'll actually go into that in a bit more detail, Evan. And I know a lot of my listeners would be currently aware of you and what you're about, etc. But for anyone who doesn't know anything about yourself, Evan, share something about you that most people do not know.
Right. Jesus. Jesus is straight in, isn't it? You got me on the
We're
spot. I have to
straight
say
in,
that.
my man. We're straight in. Let's go, bro.
Something that many people probably, I'd say, right, some people probably might know this. This is the only thing that's coming to my head here now. I suppose I was a professional jockey for 4 years and yeah, would have had decent success, okay success for the few years. But yeah, that would probably be the main thing, I suppose, that maybe some people in the fitness industry might know about me. You know what I mean? I'd say you could go into a
Yeah.
lot more stuff as well, but we'll keep it at that for today.
We'll keep it PG. Evan, that was actually something though I wanted to ask you about. So what made you make the transition from professional jockeying into coaching?
Yeah, so basically, so I was a jockey from when I was 16. So I was an apprentice flat jockey. So that you're basically in the professional game basically from that age. And I suffered big time with my weight, my relationship with food. And when I say struggle with weight, I don't mean like in like general population terms struggling with weight. I mean like jockeys struggling with weight. So
Yeah, yeah,
jockeys are they're all underweight. You know what I mean? They're all underweight, and it's like it's not a healthy sport, but that's just the reality of it. So as a result, I suppose, of being in constant restriction with my nutrition and constantly battling the scales, constantly cutting weight a few times a week. And when I say cutting weight, I mean like big weight cuts of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pound, sometimes in the space of 24 hours. And then I suppose developed a
wow,
little bit of I didn't have an eating disorder, but I had a lot of disordered eating habits, is the way I describe it. You know what I mean?
brilliant.
From
Yeah,
kind of like binges and potentially kind of purging kind of sometimes as well, you know what I mean? Which wasn't obviously good. And as a result of finishing, so that was kind of a constant battle. So when I finished racing, it was like, I suppose, a weight lifted off my shoulders, and I was kind of like, I never was lost in all my life, to be honest. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I thought at the time I wanted a job that wasn't stressful and that was like a stable job, that there was no real pressure, because when you're a jockey, like you're under serious pressure. It's a there's millions pumped into the game, you know what I mean? Owners are pumping so much money in, and you are literally left for 4 minutes to get the job done. If you feck up, it's your fault, you know what I mean? So it was like very high pressure job all of the time, 7 days a week, from getting results but also then managing weight. So I was
yeah.
sick of that
You're
for
always
a
on the
while
go.
with
Yeah,
yeah. So I kind of like I just said, right, okay, what's a stable job? So I was thinking, engineering, that seems decent money. Yeah, I'll do that, which was a stupid idea. I'll get that point in a second. But before I went to that, I was too late for the CEO. Or too late for, what is CEO? Is that the thing you apply for
yeah.
college?
The
Yeah, yeah.
the the application.
Yeah. CEO. I think we'll go with that.
The Irish college application for any not or listeners who are from abroad. Yeah, keep going, Evan.
Exactly. So I actually then just said, right, okay, what do I like? I always liked fitness. You know what I mean? I always liked fitness. I was
Yeah,
always one for going to the gym, but I was going to the gym just running, constantly sweating, just to keep that body weight down, in
keep the
because
weight
I've
down.
messed up a little bit. You know what I mean? So I used to go near any weights or anything like that. And when I finished, I was like, I just looked at the dumbbells and I was like, right, I'm gonna go over it, start doing a few curls or whatever. Hadn't a clue what I was doing. So that kind of led me to I always was trying to understand nutrition, trying to understand training, but I was never really getting good info. So I just said, right, I'm going to do a personal training course, 17 weeks. That was grand, but I was like, there's definitely no career in this. So it was just more so to kind of fill the gap for a bit. Went into engineering, and as a result of that, then I did a year of that and passed first year, say, but I reached a point where I was like, God, this is, if this is life, I'm sorry, no, this isn't what I want to be doing. You know
It's
what I
not
mean?
for you.
It just wasn't for me. Don't get me wrong. Some
Yeah.
people want that type of job and are good at it. I was just horrendous at it. That's why I just say it. I had no idea. I was brutal at maths, like, you know. So I said, right, I'm going to go back and do second year because I thought there was no other option. But in the meantime, I said, right, I obviously need a part-time job. And I was like, I'm not going working for someone at the weekends in another job I hate after doing a week's college that I also hate. So I was like, right, let's just pump a bit of money into a gym. Let's find an area, pump a bit of money into a gym. And I opened up my own personal training studio, and it took off. It just took off. And yeah,
Was
that's
that
how I
at
got into it.
the back of the house, Evan, or was that a studio that you rented?
It was a studio that I rented. It was in do you know New Inn?
Oh, very good.
on,
Yeah,
on the way
yeah.
to Ballinasloe area there. So yeah, and that's from there. Didn't go back to college. I thought I was going back in September. Did the summer personal training. Well, got fully booked. Literally didn't know if I was going to get one client or 21 clients, and I just got full straight away. And then referrals started coming, and then I got into what I've got into now. So I suppose which is obviously the whole online personal training that, you know, and I suppose to kind of answer your question in summary, the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing now is because I struggled massively with my weight, my relationship with food back when I was a jockey. And yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable, man. Unbelievable, man. A lot to just unpack there, Evan, based off what you said there. So first of all, while we're not promoting these practices, I'm curious if you did have to drop 7 to 10 pounds inside 24 hours, what would that have actually looked like for you?
Yeah. So it's
I'd
people
imagine it
find
was horrible.
people find this very interesting. The way I describe it is obviously it's chronic dehydration, and many people say, oh geez, so you weren't able to eat for 24 hours. I'm like, eat, that is the least of my worries. It's like, you want this, you want fluid, like, you know what I mean? Because see, when you get to the point of chronic thirst, food is not on your mind. It's like, I would genuinely, there was times, Adrian, right, where I was like driving down the road to race, and I'd have the heaters on in the car, sweating, just getting any fluid out of me, basically. And like, honestly, you would be pissing sweat now. I mean, like, you cooking, basically boiling over. And I'd honestly, there was one day, I think it was for JP McManus. You know JP McManus?
Yes, of
It
course.
was for him down in Killarney, and I had 12 pounds to lose. So I suppose the way I started this was, so my agent rang me, and there's 24-hour period of, once your agent rings you that morning, let's say declarations for racing the next day, for jockey bookings for the next day, it's like a 24-hour period, basically. So my agent rang and said, right, would you be able to do 9 stone 7 tomorrow? And I was like, I said, what is it? And he goes, it's for JP McManus. I go, yeah, no bother. That morning, I think I was 10 stone 5 stripped on the scale. So I had to do 9-7. So whatever that is, that 12 pound, give or take 10 or 12 pound of that.
Yeah, 10,
And
10 pounds. God,
10
man.
pound of that, yeah. And the cuts, or the weight could start from there. And I went home. First thing was run with, let's say, your sweatsuit, your sauna suit on, and as many layers as possible. Come back, maybe jump into a hot bath. Then you go back, do evening stables, back to the gym that evening, just running, walking, just with sweat gear on, just cooking over, in and out of the sauna in, let's say, 20 to 30 minute kind of bursts. And I remember that night I went home after the gym, and I'd maybe like 6 pound taken off that day. And usually you'd kind of, once you don't drink anything, you'd lose, maybe when you're that dehydrated, you might lose 0.5 of a pound in your sleep. Didn't lose 0.1 because I was obviously just wiped. You know what I mean? I was absolutely
There was
wiped.
nothing left to give.
There
Yeah.
was nothing there, basically. And I woke up. I was lying in my bed that night, actually, the night before the race, and I was like, oh my God, I actually think I'm going to die here, because I was thinking that I have another probably 6 to go when I wake up, or 7 to go tomorrow. It's like, I'm dry. It was, sometimes it's easier than others, but I just felt so dry. And I actually remember going down to the shop and had a full-blown binge for myself,
Yeah.
with everything that I could possibly get into me, because I was like, right, I know this is going to come up in a minute anyway, because obviously, well, not obviously, but I had to get it up, obviously, because I wouldn't make the weight. So I obviously made myself sick. I don't like obviously saying that or whatever, but that's what
That
was
was
done.
the extreme of which you had
Yeah,
to go through.
that
Yeah, man.
that the extreme. And the next morning, I woke up and I think I had another 5 to go, I think. And I was like, oh, my days, this is brutal. So I went for a run before riding out that morning. Kept that sweat gear on, which is sick. Heaters on in the car, going to
But I
work.
can't even imagine, man. Going for a run is tough. Going for a run dehydrated, it's even tougher. And going for a run food deprived and dehydrated, like it's really just taking it to a new level. And that's why we're not promoting these practices, by the
Yeah,
way. It just goes to show
person.
the extremes. Because I've actually had a client as well, Frank, who would have done a lot of jockeying too. And like yourself, Evan, he developed a bad relationship with food because it was all based around the scale. It was all based around cutting weight. He was always told what to eat, but he's never educated why to eat that way. And as a result of this, kind of like yourself, it was all just cardio based, running, weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. I love the way your instinct was when you joined the gym, that you actually wanted to focus on just getting stronger and building muscle. Was there a reason behind that, Evan, or was it just logical practice for you?
No, there was no. Well, the reason behind it was, I suppose, I was always very small. You know what I mean? I was always very small, and you're probably a bit right when you're in the racing game. You want to be small. You don't want to be big, like, you know what I mean. So it's normal. But then when you come out into the real world, you're or not. Yeah, I suppose it is. You're in your own bubble in the racing game. You know what I mean? Come out into the real world. You're seeing your, I suppose, peers, and everyone's more kind of bulked up, and do you know what I mean? I felt like a little ferret, so I did, like, you know what I mean? So I was like, right, I just wanted. So it was probably from, I wouldn't even say that, like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to change the way you look, you know what I mean? So I was just kind of like, I want to just build a bit of muscle. I want to get strong. I feel a bit too weak. And I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. And it wasn't that like I was like, oh my God, I need to change my body. I was like, I want to just get a bit bigger. I want to get a bit stronger looking, you know what I mean? And then I suppose I just started seeing the benefits of how I feel and having more structured meals, nice big filling meals. It was like a dream. So I was like, I'm telling you now, right? You don't have an appreciation for food or water until it's taken away from you. And that's a fact. That is a fact.
Oh,
I used to look at people drinking water, like gallons of water, when I thought I wasn't able to. And I used to be like, God, do you realize how lucky you are? Like, or being able to sit in a sauna and drink a bottle of water, like that was like another language to me. Like, do you know what I mean? It was nuts, nuts. But yeah, just from I just wanted, I suppose, get a bit stronger, Adrian, really. And yeah, that was basically it, you know.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we can all relate to that. Like everyone has a moment where maybe something happened or a flick switch that made them want to change. For me, Evan, there was two guys in my class in college, two Adrians, and only five guys in the class. Two of us called Adrian. And to differentiate between both of us, one of my mates said, he's Adrian, we'll just call you small Adrian. And that
Head
was
home.
kind of my moment where, okay, well, if that's how people perceive me, look, there might be an element of truth to it. And instead of run from it, you run towards it. And like yourself now, I just said at the end of my first year in college, I need to change. I'd like to get a bit stronger. I was a bit too skinny, pushed off the ball a bit too easy in football. And it's such a rewarding process, man. And obviously, you've been on your own journey now. Today, you posted a freaking IG story repping 47.5 kilo dumbbells on the chest press. You'll be up to 50 soon. Absolute machine, Evan. But tell me this from your own personal training experience, coaching clients in person, one to one, and obviously coaching clients online. The gym can be an environment where a lot of people still feel somewhat intimidated, or a lot of guys come to me because they're actually unsure what to do in the gym. Just from your own personal experience, Evan, what are some common mistakes that you see people make in the gym?
I suppose, yeah, you're dead right. Like, a lot of people do fear the gym, and I'll just kind of use a personal experience. Oftentimes, when we go through things ourselves, people can kind of relate to us. I remember when I first ever started, like, actually proper gym work, I probably put off going over to a bench with a set of dumbbells, and then it was another kettle of fish looking at the bench press, and I was like constantly putting it off, putting it off, putting it off, because I was like, I have no idea where to even start when I get under that thing. And that's a fact of the matter. Now it's my job, you know what I mean? But it all starts by, number one, stripping it back to the basics and asking for help from the get-go. And I'm not saying reach out to a coach and pay us or whatever. That's not what I'm jumping at here. But all I'm saying is go to a gym, sign up, and ask a fitness instructor, please, can you show me a nice, basic, simple program, and put me through it and show me how to adjust machines, etc. When you have 6 or like say 4, 6, 8 weeks put down of just getting comfortable in the gym, start getting a feel for movements, then the kind of itch starts coming. You're like, geez, okay, I know now why I'm doing this, or I know why I'm doing that. And there's a purpose behind everything. And that's then where then you can start getting a bit more specific with things and that, you know what I mean? But probably the biggest mistake is don't waste loads of months or even years just going into the gym, trying to do things. Literally ask a fitness instructor or someone to just at least guide you from the get-go, because the way you start the gym is very important, because many people just give up
100%.
way too early, don't they? And like a lot of the time it's down to simply because they're trying to wing it, but they don't know what they're doing and they don't know what they're even winging. You know what I mean? And it's a negative get-go from the start. And the only way you'll be consistent in the gym is if you start seeing some changes or some progress, and that won't happen unless you get a little bit of help from the get-go. And that's what I would say in that regard.
Yeah, 100%, Evan. I always say you can pay in money or you can pay in time, and my preference is to always pay in money where possible, or even because you got to look at it from the point of view. I always found, I'm not sure if you were the same when I was coaching, that someone who was brand new was much easier to coach in some situations than someone who was doing it on their own for 2 or 3 years, just because they might have picked up some bad habits or bad form techniques that it can be hard to actually break that pattern once you're used to doing something a certain way.
100%. And that's it. Like it's the negative habit kind of builds in from the start, and it's a lot easier start from not having a clue because you've none of them negative habits, whereas oftentimes you have to like rechange things, you know what I mean? Where you kind of get married to your specific way of doing things if it's not even the right way, and it's like all trying to reframe and break down the kind of mindset, not break it down, but tweak it and that, and tweak your whole thought process, I suppose. Whereas if your thought process is that you just haven't a clue what you're doing from the get-go, and you get someone, a professional, to kind of show you the ins and outs of it from the start, you're just your progress is going to escalate, like, you know.
And what I would say for anyone, asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It can actually be a sign of strength. And the gym does get a bad rap sometimes, but I think, Evan, it's a real supportive environment for
Oh,
the 95% of people in the gym. They're just focused on themselves. And it's actually a real area for self-improvement because people are just going for the same reason you are, to look good, to feel good, to build a bit of strength. And there's no shame at all in asking anyone for a bit of help or for a bit of assistance. You know, there's nothing to be ashamed of. We've all been a beginner at some stage. And it's just making that initial reach out.
100%. And I think the gym is actually a very positive place, to be honest. I think it's a very
Absolutely,
positive.
man.
It's like anything. There's always going to be the odd dickhead that is going to be arrogant and not help. But I can guarantee it 9 times out of 10, even if you literally were sitting down and you're at a machine and you're like, I'm not 100% sure, am I doing this right? Or can I get a bit of help with it? I guarantee if you went up 9 times out of 10 to any random person, they'll be more than happy to always help. And that's not even like the fitness instructor, the personal trainer, the online coach. That's just the fella that's doing his own gym session. You know what I mean? Everyone's just it's a positive place for the head. Everyone's in there, as you said, focusing on themselves, and just wanting to kind of like improve themselves. And they want to, most people want everyone to improve as well. You know what I mean? Deep down. I think it's one of the most positive places you can go. As I said, there's always the exception.
Yeah, Evan, I don't know if you're I 100% agree, but even for myself, whenever I join a new gym environment, there'll always be like one or two pieces of equipment there. Geez, you know what? I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure how to use it, so I'll either watch someone do it or I'll ask somebody how to use it properly because it seems like they're coming out with something new every day now, man.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. That's mad. Like, and that's it's our job. But like, I've looked at a few things. Let's say today, for example, I still don't know what the hell it was actually. To be honest, it was actually in the warehouse in Cara. It was lateral raise machine, like, you know, the two handles. It was the
Yes,
two
yeah.
handles, but underneath it, in like, there's another two handles down the bottom. I don't know, is it for someone who's shorter or something? But like it was very short. Now, so I'm not sure what the hell it was for, but I've looked around. It's like, okay, that's not any for me. So I was like, right, let's do this, yuck. But
Yeah, yeah, that's not for me. I like that approach. Yeah.
yeah. So no, it's like not like it's such a not a serious place either. Like, you know what I mean? See if you make a mess of something, or you embarrass yourself, or if you like make the mess of a machine or an exercise, like it's not a serious place. It's like everyone's downtime, you know what I mean, in a way. So it's like there's no stress, you know, everyone, it's just a laugh, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. And the big thing is, what are you doing? If you think about yourself in the gym, what are you doing in the gym? You're probably just focusing on yourself, just like everybody else. So I think sometimes we get in our head and a lot, Evan, and think that people are watching us, when in reality, everyone's just concerned about themselves. Evan, I'd love to make a transition slightly onto nutrition, because obviously you spoke about the gym there. What are some, first of all, common misconceptions people actually have around nutrition, around gaining muscle and or losing fat, that you come across most commonly, most frequently?
So there's obviously a lot of stuff. I'll talk about fat
I
loss, I
love
suppose,
I
for
just, by the way, I love your reels. I love your reels on this, where you share a story to break down a common misconception. I think it's such a great way to get your message across. But sorry, Evan, sorry to
yeah,
interrupt
no,
you.
thanks a million. Yeah, like I suppose with nutrition, there's a lot there. Like there's a lot there, and it's like, right, how can we pick common misconceptions? I suppose one, I'll bring it, I suppose, a different, maybe a little bit different, is oftentimes many people feel they need to be perfect all the time. And I think one of the biggest things that people struggle with, and one reason that people can't actually achieve their body composition or achieve weight loss or lose a few pounds and maintain it, is this idea that you have to be absolutely on the ball with your diet all of the time, when it's just not the case. And anyone who gets a long-term result aren't people who aim for perfection, and that's a fact. Anyone who gets a long-term result are people who accept imperfection, understand that sometimes life is going to throw a few bits at you, but it's like, I suppose, zooming out a bit and being like, right, what can I control in this X situation? And sometimes, like, you're gonna have a takeaway, and that is fine. It's like winning the next meal. You're gonna miss a gym session, that's fine. It's like winning the next meal. Many people feel like their progress is ruined by, let's say, one meal that isn't optimal, I suppose, you know what I mean, or one day even that isn't optimal, when that's not the case. It's the knock-on effect. See if you can have a meal that is like maybe not in line with, let's say, your goal. Let's say a Saturday night you have a takeaway, you might have a few bottles, for example, right? It's not necessarily that's the biggest issue. It's like, right, what's your response? Are you able to get straight back to things the next day? That's the key thing. In my opinion, anyway, when it comes to nutrition. And probably another thing is people going to extremes. Many people feel like they do need to go to extremes in order to achieve results, and it's just simply not the case. And when a person starts any diet, it's like motivation is very high. You know what
It's
I
at
mean?
an
Like
all-time high.
the want for change is very high. But that want for change can dip a little bit as the kind of like week 3, 4, 5, 6. It can change a small
I
little bit.
always say week three, Evan. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think what's really important is that when you start, you set realistic expectations. Yes, you might be able to adhere to a 700-800 calorie deficit for the first couple of weeks, but that's going to get harder and harder to adhere to. Oftentimes, it's like, try and get away with eating as much food as you physically can, while making a nice sustainable amount of progress, so that you can be nice and consistent with that over time, you know what I mean? And for long enough in order to achieve the result that you want to achieve. So yeah, I suppose the thinking that you need to go to extremes, and number two, as I said, the aiming for perfection, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I think aiming for perfection, it's something I've been guilty of before in the past. And it's really just that all or nothing mindset, Evan, isn't it? It's like it's a switch, it's either on or it's off, it's nothing in between.
Fact. And it's like this saying, I suppose, of I fell off the wagon, you know what I mean? And something that I'd always like try and drive home to people is that there is no wagon as such, you know, and that's really important to understand. Like, there's no track, right? The way I'd say this is that there are going to be times where, let's say the goal is fat loss. There is going to be the element of restriction. There's no beating around the bush there. There is the element of making little compromises here and there for, let's say, a period of time in order to achieve the results you want to achieve. Many people would take that up as like, okay, so I can't go for a meal out, I can't have a couple of drinks. No, you can have them things, but you just need to be kind of smart about these things, you know what I mean? And that's kind of striking the I suppose the middle ground. But what I'm kind of getting at there in regards to the removing the wagon is that, let's say over a 12-month period, the fact of the matter is, if you have a normal life, like us basically, you're not going to be just completely on the ball all the time. You're probably going to gain a little bit of body fat at different periods. But the difference is when you can strike that middle ground, you can never let it get too far. You know what I mean? So I'd always try and drive home the point of having like baseline non-negotiables, no matter what happens. What are like baseline non-negotiables, no matter if stress is through the roof, if life throws a few curveballs at you, that you have baseline non-negotiables that you can do, but they need to be very realistic. So for example, for me, no matter what, I will always get out for a morning walk. Okay, I'll always get out for a morning walk, and I will 99.9% of the time I'll always have 3 structured meals in my day. That might sound so simple and basic, but by me having these baseline non-negotiables in place, I can never let things go too far. I've spent, let's say, let's say after I came home from Australia, I've gained a bit of body fat, but because I've probably had a few, I've meeting up with friends that I probably had a few pints most weekends, but it's like
Went abroad,
it's been about
etc.,
2
traveled.
kg. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's been so minimal, and that's because I have these non-negotiables in place and these habits built up over time. And that like knowing that there's times to push progress and there's times to just coast, and you need to be okay with being like weight neutral and coasting, in my opinion. And I think that's really important for people to understand.
100%, Evan. I love everything you said there. First of all, I really like the analogy that there is no wagon. It's like a
Mhm.
dial, and sometimes the dial's at a 9, sometimes the dial might be at a 4, but you're
100%.
never on or you're off. You're always doing something. And those non-negotiables, I absolutely love that. I spoke with that recently myself, and it's going to be different for everyone. But as
Mhm.
you said, what are some things that no matter what happens, that in a given week you're going to do? It could be 3 strength, it could be 10K steps, it could be, as you said, 3 structured meals. Man, such value there. But do you find then, Evan, just out of curiosity, it's a hard one because communicating these things on social media, that's why I love podcasts. You can break things down into more detail.
Definitely.
Some people's conception then of balance is a bit too extreme on the other end, where if what's the best way of saying this?
I
Sometimes you do have to go through phases where in the micro for a 12-week period, you might be somewhat quote unquote out of balance so that in the long run you can get into balance. But then some people's perception of that is they just need to manage their expectations and think that it lasts forever when in reality it's always just a period of time.
That's really important, and you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Like, podcast is good to be able to talk with this because, like, see if you say, many people will say this online. It's like, balance is bullshit. Like, it just comes across. You can't kind of put that into short form content, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because people just take that up wrong. Kind of, I
Get a
suppose the
lot of
thing about,
views probably, but yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah. So, like, the thing with balance is that balance is going to be different for everyone. And you need to go with, I suppose, what are your values? And I think that's what it kind of comes down to at the end of
Yeah.
the day. Do you value living a nice, healthy lifestyle? But do you also value being able to have maybe a couple of pints a weekend, maybe have a takeaway at the weekend? You can still absolutely have that. But it's like, okay, then how do we make the rest of the week look on point? That's balance for a nice, sustainable, healthy lifestyle. But then where, like, I suppose, balance, let's say someone is currently battling with their weight and they are, let's say a person's overweight and they've reached the point of, you know what, something needs to change here because my health is maybe taking a little bit of a hit or whatever. That person might need to go through a period of, and this is a tricky one, right? Might need to go through a period of a little bit of imbalance. Okay, but now the only thing about when I say that is that many people will come to me, let's say, and they might be struggling and they have been trying to go so imbalanced. And what I mean by that, they've tried to go so restrictive, so therefore they can't actually sustain it across a 7-day period. So therefore a binge or overeating occurs at the weekend, and that's the main thing that's taking them out of it. So therefore, for that type of person, oftentimes it's letting them know that you are able to have this sort of stuff. Let's say a bit of chocolate, you're able to have your glass of wine, or
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
able to have, do you know what I mean? So it really does depend on the person. Say if someone's just taking the absolute piss entirely with food, then that person needs to be told, right, okay, we need to kind of sort this small little bit. Let's kind of pick into things that you're not willing to compromise maybe of a Saturday night, and let's kind of work the rest of the week around that. And there we go. There is going to be that maybe element of restriction, or just kind of pulling things back a small bit, bringing 3 takeaways down to 1 takeaway and them few little bits. But as I said, the type of person that I'm kind of thinking of here, that I'd be mindful of saying this, is that person who feels like they are trying their hardest, but just can't be adherent enough for long enough, or let's say across a 7-day period, because of how restricted they're making themselves, because they're going trying to go way too much that restricted end, you know what I mean? So therefore that person bringing reassuring them that it's okay to have this, because the thing that's fucking them up is that they're just self-sabotaging, you know what I mean? So I think it's really important of knowing who you're kind of talking to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, man, like even a big aha moment for me was, and this might sound crazy to people, but Evan, for years, God bless my mum, I'd come home from college on a Friday evening. She'd have an unbelievable dinner ready for me. And white potatoes, you know, the staple in any Irish. I just wouldn't eat them. I thought they'd make me fat. Like, just I had that misconception myself that white potatoes, you cannot eat those if you wanna lose weight. So that was a big switch for me when I saw when I saw my weight drop and still eating white potatoes. But everyone is different. But just going back in the balance then, God forbid, some people though, their perception of balance is having a night out or 2 nights out every week, having a takeaway twice a week, eating a bar of chocolate every day, you know, going for food a couple of times a week. They've been so long out of balance the wrong way that sometimes you need to kick them back into imbalance the other way. So again, as you said, it really does depend on the individual.
That's it. It's like, right, what are that individual's habits and behaviors now? As I said, there could be that person that was maybe, like you said, that was trying so hard to go so restrictive, but just couldn't adhere to it. But then there's the person who deep down, then like the person knows that, right, I am just like completely taking the biscuit here with everything. You know what I mean? I'm living life. I'm living life. And I want to drive home the point is that is okay. You know what I mean? That is okay as well, if that's what you're wanting to do. But say if you're wanting to change, the reality of it is something does have to change as well.
Yes.
Does that mean, again, that we have to go completely cold turkey? No, but it just means we need to pick and choose a little bit and be that bit more mindful and understanding that.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, fat loss should be, I suppose, fat loss should be a phase. And this is something I'm always trying to drive home to people, that many people feel like that. Let's say if they get into a deficit and they feel like, okay, this is it. This is it. I'm on a diet. I'm on a diet. And the whole population's on a fucking diet all their life. You know what I mean? Whereas what I'm trying to drive home is that, okay, a diet should only be for an X period of time. For some people, that might be a year. That might be a year and a half. For some people, it might be 2 years. But you shouldn't be able to try. You shouldn't be aiming to do all that at once. But let's say you're a person who had 10 kg to take off. Let's say a 20-week period, for example. You know what I mean? You'll be able to do that in, let's say, a few bursts, for example, a few little kind of phases for yourself, a few kind of longish kind of phases, but knowing that the end goal is to get to a point where you're not aiming for weight loss to occur. You're actually aiming to fuel the body and focus on maybe like performance-based goals. And oftentimes when I say that to people in the program, it's like, right, this is it now. We're aiming for adhere to deficit, aim to trickle down. But what we're looking for at the end goal is to bring food up to like a maintenance level, maybe move away from tracking, focus on maybe just mindful eating and focus on performance-based goals. Do you want to maybe run a 5K? Do you want to
love all of that,
much muscle, etc.? You know what I mean? I think that's really important to have another focus after fat loss. And to be honest, I think it's nearly essential, to be honest, to have something to focus on. Otherwise, you're like, right, what are you eating well for? Obviously, it's to feel good, but when shit hits the fan on a particular day, it's like you've no real reason to, you know. Whereas, like, see there, I'm just kind of thinking of myself here, for example. I go to, let's say, the gym there this morning, for example, and I was leaving. I was like, fucking hell, I feel fair, fresh. I just feel brilliant. And I wanted to eat well. You know what I mean? Like, I will go out tonight. I'm not going out tonight, but I'm going for meeting one of the lads there, Oisin O'Malley. But going for a little bit of food. I'll have a few bottles, say. I'll still be on the ball. I'm still going to be in my deficit, still going to be making progress. But because I, let's say, did a good session this morning, I feel fresh. I'm wanting to kind of keep things on the ball. You know what I mean? Because I feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Evan, I really like your coaching side. I feel we align on a lot there, because by its nature, being in a calorie deficit and dieting isn't actually sustainable, because if it was sustainable, you'd be at calorie maintenance where you're maintaining.
Yeah.
But when you're cutting food, that's by its nature not sustainable. But I love the way you mentioned there the individual who wants to lose 20 kilos over 10 weeks, that you take diet breaks. So it could be something like 4 weeks we're in a deficit, 1 week we're at maintenance, and do that for 4 blocks. And that's 4 blocks of 5 weeks. So it's a lovely way just to break up and chunk out time and plan around social events too, which is awesome, Evan. We'll just slowly pivot as we wrap things up, Evan. Obviously, you mentioned setting up your private gym and then you transition to online, and just blown up out of, not by luck, but out of sheer hard work, out of effort, out of putting time in. And you've got to a point where you are today because you've put the reps in. You put the time under the bar. The guy who looks the way you want to look, the girl looks the way you want to look. It's not by chance. They've put in hours and hours and hours of work. So for you, Evan, I guess in what way has grown to over 200,000 Instagram followers, for instance, in what way has that had a impact, maybe positive or negative, on your life, on obviously just helping more clients, but just in general, I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, no, like I'll be honest, like my life has completely changed. You know what I mean? Like, say if someone, and I'm not just saying this, like, but if someone told me when I was doing my PT qualification, no, not even that. Let's say when I was fully booked in the gym in person, only a year and a half ago, say, when I hadn't even one online client, if someone said that things would be going the way they're going now, I'd be like, you are absolutely nuts in the head. Like, you are not well, you know? And I would actually, if someone said that you will eventually, when you're after another 20 years, be, I suppose, have the, I suppose, client base or clientele and the following that I have now, I would say, you're not well, you know, because it's
Not
so,
reality. Yeah.
I was always someone, right, who sees myself, and I'm still like, I still say this, like, but I was always someone who just had that kind of, I suppose, limiting beliefs where, no, that fella does that. I always was someone, right, who had a bit of a drive, had a lot of drive. I was always doing things different. And what I mean by that is that into very like different career of being a jockey, like professional sport, I always had like ambition in that, like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I always kind of created a bit of a ceiling for myself and never thought that I'd be able to get anything that that person has or get anywhere near that, you know what I mean? And the more I kind of try to start removing that, the more things kind of, I suppose, exploded. Obviously, the amount of people that I get to help on a daily basis is absolutely insane. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing, you'll know this yourself, like, there's nothing better than getting a text and say, my life has changed. You know what I mean? And it's like, we're looking after a bit of mindset, nutrition, bit of training. It's mad what can actually be done, but it genuinely can really change a person's life. And then obviously, like, say, financially, things are obviously going good as well. Like, there's no beating around the bush there. You know what I mean? It is, you want to make a living or whatever, and that's obviously going really good as well. And I suppose just being able to live a life where there's a lot of freedom, I suppose. You know what I mean? There's a lot of freedom, but at the same time, I'm only 23. And the way I've been kind of working on this a little bit as well. Let's say during this, it's not all like sunshine and rainbows. You know what I mean? Like, to get where what has happened now, I'm working like all of the time basically, but I love what I'm doing. That's the difference. But at the same time, there's a time where it can get a lot on the head. And I suppose going back during the summer there, I was riddled with anxiousness. I never really get that anxious as such, but I was really bad. Like, as in, I was waking up wired to the moon. I was like, straight away, I was like, on the ball, switched on right before I go to bed, switched on. And obviously that was why I was so switched on, because I wouldn't let myself switch off. But it was like, stress got so bad when there was no, I was putting it on myself nearly in a way, you know what I mean? And I just reached out to guys, TMP, they're called Total Mental Performance, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they've helped massively. They've helped massively with like removing the ceiling that I was, I suppose, creating, and just kind of helped manage things, because obviously it's a lot of like, there's hundreds of clients, you know what I mean? And obviously I have a team under me now as well, and it's like, it is a lot of pressure, and sometimes unless you start putting in little boundaries in that, you're on all the time. But the way I kind of summarize it is, what has happened has been absolutely life-changing. The way I look at it though also is that, and this is one thing that I reached out to the guys, is that I was like, what if it all just ends tomorrow and I'm using that as my driver all the time? Whereas that is good, I suppose. Dark, the analogy they use is like dark energy and light energy. Dark energy, anyone who succeeds in something, oftentimes it's coming from a place of maybe a little bit of darkness. For me, it's like I was in a very unhappy place, and I wanted to just change. I wanted to change, I suppose, you know what I mean? And there comes a time though, and then it's like fear and failure, fear and it all caving in. There comes a time where that just overpowers thing, and there needs to be something else. Now I'm looking at more of like, obviously there is that bit of a driver of like, keep going. Obviously that's just part of the process, but then it's like, what am I doing it all for? Sorry, my throat is gone so dry. What am I doing it all for? And it's like, to help people and to live a good life. You know what I mean? That's what you're doing it all for. And you need to enjoy the process, because like, sorry, geez, Adrian, my throat.
You're okay. You're all right,
If
man.
you
You're
don't,
telling a great story. I love it, bro.
yeah, if you don't, I suppose, enjoy the process, you're like, it's you hit these landmarks. It's like, be it if it's financial, if it's a client base, if it's following, it's the process that's been the enjoyable part. Every single milestone, it's like, it's just came, and it's like, okay, right, next one, but next one, and there comes a
Yeah,
time it's like, fucking hell, the next one, where is this, where does the end come?
you're
And
pushing the
now I'm just trying to
goalpost.
more so enjoy the day to day, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And still obviously have that big drive. That's never going, you know what I mean? Like, because I've blinkers on here, like obviously there's a lot that I want to achieve, whatever, but like, you need to, I'm trying more so to have a bit more structure, a little bit more boundaries, and just have the balance of life and work, you know what I mean? I think that's
yeah.
so important. We could be dead tomorrow.
Evan, I love everything you said there, man. Because reflecting on the process, that's where they actually there is research on this, and getting to the quote unquote getting to the finish line isn't the rewarding part. It's how you actually got there. And it's weird, even Evan, when I worked as a teacher, God, I spent a lot of time saying I'll be happy when I'll be a
Yeah.
full-time online fitness coach, because I'm looking back now, and they were in sometimes the good days. I had a home gym,
Good
Evan,
days.
and I used to train. I used to get up at 5 in the morning, do a session in the freaking pitch black, lashing rain, go into school and be in a good mind frame, come home, coach clients in the gym, and just felt this overwhelming stress, anxiety, etc. But now I'm looking back, and you're training these nice gyms, Benoos in Dubai, or you're abroad in London or wherever, and I'm looking back to the days of training in the freaking shed, and I'm saying, you know what? They're the good days. You have a
Yeah.
barbell, you have a set of dumbbells, you have a kettlebell, and you just bang it out. It's old school, but as you said, you have to enjoy the process, man. I really love that.
100%. I suppose, like, the good old days, I suppose, are we in the good old days now? Probably, are we? You know what I
We
mean?
we we're in the moment. We're
That's it.
in the
Like, yeah.
moment.
And it's,
Yeah,
look,
man, I
it's
love
like,
that.
it's hard sometimes as well to like see when stress hits or whatever. Sometimes it can be hard to kind of put, do you know what I mean? But like, you have to try and be able to zoom out a little bit, you know, and that's what I'm trying to do all the time, is try to zoom out every week anyway, once, you know what I mean, and just try and fucking appreciate things that bit more, you know what I mean? Because yeah, as I said, like, it's like, what you doing it all for? And I think that goes for getting into shape as well. It's like, if you're just going from a place of darkness or a place of negativity, yes, reaching a point of maybe being like, fuck, I do want to change, maybe that is needed sometimes, but it's like, you can't have that negativity being the driver for the rest of your life. Or it's like, what are you doing it all for? There has to be that positive element and enjoying the new lifestyle or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100. Absolutely, absolutely. Just before we wrap up, Evan, I'll do a quick fire Q&A. The first ever personal development book I read, it changed my life. It was Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. And in it, I remember he mentioned something that just really resonated with me since. People make decisions to either get out of pain or to move towards pleasure. So maybe for you, when you reached out to TMP, Total Mental Performance, it was probably an element of pain because that
Oh,
stress, that anxiety, and just not being able to switch off. But now, and then another analogy would be when you joined the gym, it was more so maybe to move towards pleasure, that, you know what, I want to feel strong, I want to bulk up, I want to get a bit fitter. So there's no right or wrong approach, but I guess I think fear is a great driver, but it can also burn you out if it's your only driver.
And that's the point that I'm trying to drive home. It's like fear and failure and coming from a place of pain are oftentimes there's no better driver in the world, you know what I mean? But it's like that can't be the only driver in my opinion, or it's like you do
Burnout.
get burned out. You just said literally, as I said, when I reached out to the lads, when I was filling out the application form, when I hopped on the first call with them, I remember I was lying down the bed that morning and I was like, I need to message someone here, like, I need to text them. And he read out my application. He just goes, what did he say? Actually, he in the application, the question was something like, what do you do? What do you need help with? And he read out my answer and he goes, he's Dan, he's English. He goes, I don't know, but I'm fucking riddled with anxiety. So I remember lying down in the bed, it's like, just fucking type Anthony here and just throw it on. But yeah, that was again just raw, you know what I mean? So
And
yeah.
just finally on that, Evan, what are one or two things that you found that's helped with the anxiety?
Structure, 100% structure. So
Yeah,
I'm maybe a bit of a people pleaser sometimes, to be totally honest, where like I always want things to be going well, you know what I mean? Let's say in the business, obviously I want clients to
of
be happy and
course.
everything like
Yeah,
that. But sometimes then like I would maybe first thing and wake up in the morning, jump straight into the phone, straight into replying to messages. And I'm not even given the full, like, and I'm just trying to do that because I feel like I just need to get onto everyone straight away. I'm awake. They need to hear from me now or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Where if there's any like message or any questions or whatever, you know, just normal questions, but I just put this stupid unnecessary pressure on myself. Whereas now I try and have the phone where possible on do not disturb for kind of the first hour. I'll go grab a coffee. I'll jump in. I never like I jump in a cold shower. Like again, it helps me, kind of
it's
wakes me
you.
up and
Yeah, it
feel
starts
good and
your day.
fresh. You know what I mean? Feel good and fresh and feel sharp. Whatever. I'll go for coffee. I'll go for a walk. Then I'll start the day, and I will
Yeah,
as well trying to make sure sleep is on point too. I
yeah.
feel like see when I'm under, or if I'm hitting that 6 hour mark, it's like not the
Mm,
same human at all. Like, and genuinely, like, there's probably people listening to this. I don't know, they might have kids or whatever. Like, and there's sometimes it'll be again the period of time where sleep is going to be down the shitter. You know what I mean? But where possible, Jesus, try and prioritize it, because like life just improves. Your thinking, your decision making, your mood, everything is better when you have quality sleep. Honestly, and to be honest, see that
mm.
it's getting more structure, more time blocking with things, and just getting more trying to get into proper deep focus work when I'm working and not working when I'm not working, and setting
I
that as
love
a
it.
rule. You know what I mean? That's kind of
Yeah,
important in my opinion.
unreal,
Still
unreal,
working on it.
Evan.
Still working on it. Don't get
Yeah.
me
Oh
wrong. I'm
man,
still
amen. Yeah, no, that's wealth of knowledge. Though that's Evan. That's awesome, Evan Daly. This has been amazing. We'll just finish on a quick rapid fire Q&A, my man. So keep it as short and concise as possible,
right.
even if it is going to be difficult. Evan, when you hear the word successful, who's the first person you think of?
Oh fuck. 1 second. Probably probably my parents, to be honest. Yeah, because they have, I suppose, built a happy life. They're well stable and they're enjoying life. That's literally probably the first thing that came to mind. I obviously didn't think about that. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Unreal.
No real stressors as such, and that's kind of where I want to be.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Evan, what's one new habit you've implemented in the last 12 months?
Uh Not going on the phone for the first hour of the morning, and trying to reduce time on social media, even though it's my job, but the time that I'm not working, if that makes sense.
Unreal. Unreal. I'm the same. I've just met a rule. I don't check it first thing because you're just
Yeah.
in that reactive rather than
Fight or
proactive
flight.
state. Yeah. Evan, what's one thing that you believe that most other people doesn't think is true?
Jeez, do you have some time thinking about these ones, Adrian?
Oh, I have a list of them, man. I've only two more to go though.
What's one thing you believe?
Or even that other people might think is crazy or that other people generally disagree with.
um, where you want to be, and a lot of people probably agree with this. Again, it's just kind of the first thing coming to mind. It's a tricky one. Where you want to be in a year's time is down to what you do today and every other day up to over the next year. Your daily habits is the thing that gets you to where you want to get. Again, probably a lot of people believe in that, but I think it's just fact, isn't it? But people don't think about that enough, I think, to be honest.
And the small things mightn't actually be small things
No,
when you
that's it.
accumulate them over time.
Over time. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Good or bad. I love that, Evan. Okay. Two more to go. What do you feel? I think you'd like this one. What's the most underrated gym exercise you feel that you don't see a lot of people do?
That you don't see a lot of people do. Right, that you don't see a lot of people do. That's obviously a different one now again. I personally feel a good few people probably do this though, realistically. No, I'm gonna say a T-bar row. Love a fucking T-bar row, to be
Yeah,
honest. Chest support T-bar row. And then the other
savage.
one that I actually love as well, to be honest, is a good big heavy incline chest press.
Yeah, the 47.5s.
I'll go one more actually. I'll go one more because this is probably one that probably a lot of people maybe don't do. Is actually a Smith machine split squat. I think I actually like them because you're just feel very stable. And I suppose grip strength is out of the equation. I just much prefer that than carrying two big dumbbells, to be honest. I just find it nicer, you know.
Yeah, I've actually never done. I've injured myself doing a barbell reverse lunge, but I've never done them off a Smith machine, so I must give that a go.
Yeah, they're nice.
Evan, last question. Seeing as this is the Lifestyle Lifter show, what is your definition of living a successful lifestyle?
Me personally is, and this is just from literally the honest truth, is not having financial worries. Not going to lie about that. It's important. And being able to having good relationships. Yeah. And living a healthy lifestyle and feeling good and feeling fit. They're my three, to be honest. And I think they're all interlinked. Again, some people, that's just reality. Yeah.
I love it. There's no right or wrong answer, man.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Yourself.
Evan,
What's yourself? What's your definition while we're here?
yeah, I think freedom of location is number one, and just not
Same.
having to be anywhere. That I get to be somewhere rather than have to be somewhere. I think with that, then surrounding yourself with just good, positive people, having good, as you said, personal relationship, having good experiences, and then there has to be an element of fulfillment. So,
Yeah.
like genuinely waking up every day with a sense of purpose that you're here to do something good to help other people out. And I think that's where what we're doing, what makes the coaching so rewarding. And when you see firsthand the change that it can make in other people's life, it gives you reassurance selfishly and selflessly that you're doing something right and you're positively impacting others.
100%. I think the way I ever know that I'm doing something that I enjoy doing is that, and I think this was kind of the pinnacle, was, let's say in 2021, going on a holiday, coming back with maybe some people dreading going back to work and going back to normal life, where I was like, I love this, you know what I mean? I love what you do. When you like what you do on a daily basis, you'll do feckin' anything. And that's where everything starts snowballing, you know what I mean? It's a knock-on effect, in my opinion. Yeah. So yeah, I 100% actually, there was probably three there that you said that I was like, yeah, fuck, them ones are actually probably more important than anything. To be
Yeah,
honest.
no, but what you said, and I actually took a screenshot of this, Evan. Brian Kane back at circa, I'd say Snapchat 2017. He used to do great Q&As in his Snapchat story, but he put up something, someone asked him a question, and his response was, create a life where you don't need to go on a holiday for a break.
Yeah,
People
fact.
people are, I'm not saying it's not nice to have a change in routine, but if that 1 week or 2 weeks of the year is the only thing that's driving you on, maybe just consider alternative avenues. That's all. That's all.
Yeah.
Evan, to wrap things up, where can people learn a bit more about you? I know you're currently running the fitness challenge. I know you and Sean Casey have big things coming as well. So share anything at all you'd like, and I'd be happy to post the links in the show notes.
100%, Adrian. Yeah, no, I suppose I'll just open up a next 6-week challenge, I suppose, in the daily fitness community. The 27th of October, that's the next thing that's kind of on. But then I think that's all interlinked in with the new app that we're developing. Can't say the name yet because we haven't bought the domain, just in case it gets taken out, which, do you know what I mean? God forbid. So yeah, that new app, really looking forward to that. It's obviously massive massive investment and things like that. And it's, look, again, take risks. That's the way I look at it. So the goal is to help a lot of people. That's the
Unreal.
main aim. So yeah, and then I suppose my page is Daly Evan, or what's my fucking, Jesus Christ, this is awful, isn't it? What's my fucking jeez, that's terrible. What's my Instagram handle?
I think
Evan Daly
I
Fitness,
have it.
we'll go with.
Evan
Daly
Daly.
Daily Fitness. There we go. Jesus
Evan,
Christ, that was awful, wasn't
awesome.
it?
Awesome. And Evan, for people who want to learn more about that challenge or about what you and Sean have to come, is Instagram the best place to contact you?
Yeah, Instagram. Yeah, no stress at all. Instagram is the place. If you want to, you can. If not, no worries.
I'll post, so everyone check out the show notes. I'll post a link to
Gentlemen,
Evan's
thanks for
ID there.
the appreciate
Evan,
that.
unbelievable conversation. Really, really enjoy this. Thanks again for coming on. This has been amazing, bro.
Thanks a billion later, and really enjoyed that now as well. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.